Well, I just don't ever want anybody to ever have to go through what I and my family had to go through.
I think you don't really think it's going to happen till it does.
It was June 13th, 1968. Vern Bigham, a lineman, got called to fix a bus at a substation that had been hit by lightning.
And when I got there, they told me that they wanted me to change that insulator out. And I told them, I said, I think it's too dangerous to do it hot. Somebody will get hurt doing this. And they said, well, we can't have the power off. I told them, no, it's too dangerous to do it hot. I'm not going to do it. So I started walking around the truck. And when I walked around the truck, then I noticed that they was going to have the apprentice do it. And I was a journeyman, and I thought, it isn't fair for the apprentice to have to do that. I'll try it. I hope I can make it.
He didn't.
So when I put the sling rope on it, it must have jiggled it a little bit, and it came in contact with the end of the insulator, and it was grounded, and I was in a big ball of fire, and it was 3,000 degree temperature. I had Polaroid glasses on, and it melted the lens on the side there where I was, where the flash was. Had a helmet on with a rubber strap and a plastic buckle. The plastic buckle melted underneath of my chin, and my face got big like a pumpkin. And I had pressed clothing on, and they melted to my legs and to my stomach. And I crawled down off from a ladder, and I told the boss, I said, I think I'm pretty seriously injured, and so I think you better take me to the hospital.
Wanda Bigham was in the car with her children when she heard.
The kids and I were uptown shopping for camp clothes for Nancy.
And we were on the corner in downtown Mankato, and we had the radio on in the car, and it said that there was an accident and 2 NSP workers had been injured and burned very badly.
And they said his name, and they said that he wasn't expected to live. That was very hard.
It was very scary. We thought, is my dad going to die? Is our family going to be the same? So for 13, it was kind of a big eye-opener.
Vern Bigham had burns over 65% of his body.
They put me in one of those big water tubs, and with saline and hot water and salt. They put me on a cot, and they lowered me into the water, and they used a washcloth, and they washed the scabs off from my legs, and the water just turned kind of red from the blood and everything, and it was hurting so much. They didn't give me any shots or anything like that. They just took me downstairs and started with the washcloths, and I was screaming. It was hurting so much.
After several weeks of intense pain, Vern slipped into a coma. When it stretched into its 3rd week, the doctor told Wanda that Vern might never regain consciousness.
I told the kids about that, and it was really hard, but we thought, well, if that's the way it is, we'll make out. So we were going to accept it, and there was nothing else you could do, you know, but then he came out of it. He sort of woke up that one day after 3 weeks of this, and all of a sudden he said, wow, this was the day that he had to pick his baseball team. And just like that, he came out of it, and he was his old self again.
Progress, however, was slow. He didn't come home for good until February. For months, Wanda nursed her husband at home, changing his dressings behind a closed bedroom door so the children wouldn't get upset.
But this one day, little Mark came in. He was 4 years old. And he stood right there and looked at him. And, you know, he looked like a hamburger. He was so bad, you know. And he looked right at him and he says, "You look great, Dad. You're doing great."
Today, Vern shows off his scars in safety talks he gives all over the country.
And they had to, first of all, they skin grafted this, and didn't work. And then they had to take these pinch grafts off, and they 100 off this side, 100 here, and put them down here. And that's what saved my leg, otherwise I'd had to have my leg cut off. Glad I don't have.
Vern has retired from his job as safety consultant, but continues to tell his story in an effort to spare others the pain he and his family went through.
And so what I tell the workers is that this is my 15-second rule. Why don't you have the accident investigation before you have the accident? Take 15 seconds and run that through your subconscious mind and ask yourself, am I abiding by the safety rules? Do I have the right equipment here to do the job? Do I have the right people? Do I really know what the boss wanted? And if that little voice in your head says, look out, there's a problem here, you might get hurt doing this, you back off and don't do it until you know for sure that you can do it safely.
Vern, who had more than 20 years on the job when he was hurt, knows it's easy to become complacent and take a shortcut that can injure or kill you and your fellow workers.
You know, some people say we don't have time. You got 10 major decisions to make in a day. 10 times 15 seconds is 150 seconds. 2.5 minutes. Is your life worth 2.5 minutes? The company thinks it is. Why don't you? Think before you act. It's so important. You want to listen to that little voice in your head when it's talking to you. You know, that little voice comes from your safety meetings and your on-the-job training and all that kind of stuff. Nothing on this job is more important than your personal safety and the safety of the guys working with you. I really believe that.
Vern reminds crews that they have the authority to stop a job anytime they don't feel it's safe.
Every place I go, I really do try to meet with the line crews and try to encourage them to take the time to think before they act. There's nothing out there more important than the safety of the workers.
Vern also stresses the importance of attitude and getting along with your co-workers. He says arguments and bad feelings can contribute to accidents on the job.
You really shouldn't leave the shop until you get that straightened out, because if you don't, you're going to be out there on the job working, and half your mind is going to be on how I'm going to get back at that guy the way he treated me, and the other half of your mind is going to be on how I'm going to do the work. And you can't do the work safely with a half a mind. You must have your full attention to doing what you're doing, especially when you're working on the lines or in the gas or whatever department. That you make one mistake and you can be seriously injured or killed. If you don't abide by the safety rules and you get hurt, they all suffer. My children were affected. If I hadn't have been here, my wife would have had a trouble, and she was wondering how she was going to support the family if I didn't make it. And you know, it's not just money that the worker is going to help with the family. It's the guidance that you give them, the children, and the help that you give your wife and the whole family.
Today, Vern and Wanda enjoy their 13 grandchildren. They are all aware of how different things might have been.
He's been a real wonderful husband and father for the kids and for the grandkids. And he certainly is the backbone of our family, always has been, even when he was in the hospital.
My mom is wonderful and strong, but, you know, I wouldn't have been here. Or I wouldn't have looked like this.
I'm grateful. I think we're all just very grateful. And I didn't realize I was still so emotional about all this, but it kind of makes you go back and think how different things could have been. Because we've all of us have done very well. We've all grown up. We've all had families.
Everybody, all the grandkids love them. Everyone can't wait to get down to Grandpa and Grandma's house for Christmas, Easter, whatever we're doing.
Vern's daughter has a message for those with dangerous jobs.
Think about your families and how much each one means and what an impact you'll have later in other people's lives. You think, oh, I'm just whatever your job is. But take the 15 seconds. Think about your wife, your children, whoever your family is. And realize that what you do impacts so many more people in your life than what you think, what you can even imagine.
And I just really believe that if we can pass this information on to others, that it's going to prevent some accidents. I have an opportunity to help along the lines that I've been involved with, and it's really fun. You know, I really enjoy it, and I'll keep doing it as long as I'm able to walk. That's really the way I feel.